Good morning. I have no idea how this is going to go, but I thought I would give it a shot and then you could tell me if it's helpful or not. So I thought we could look at Gavotte, number 11 in Suzuki Book 2, because there's a lot of things that are really important that you take from this piece. And it sounded like you thought it was a really fun piece to play, so I thought it would be a good one to kind of analyze a little, especially if you're going to be moving on to Book 3, which gets really technical. And so if you can work on those things now, it would be a lot better before you move on. So the main thing in this particular piece is the bowing, and it's really, really important to have contrasting bows. So most of it, in the beginning at least, is staccato notes, and you'll see that from the little dots above the notes. So it's really important to break those up, even if you have to go really slow. Just for that first measure, this would be the piece to take it one measure at a time and really master it before. Don't just practice the whole thing in its entirety over and over, really break apart each measure. So staccato. Maybe when you do your warm-up for scales, you can work on your staccato. So it's really important to have that very clean and crisp and final bow stroke. Because what happens is later on in the piece you'll have that contrast. So let's look at measure number 9. So in 10, measure 10, there are no more staccato bows for that particular measure. So you really want to have that contrasting where it's very obvious that it goes from this doot 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 to this really long and smooth bow stroke. And then another really important thing is in measure 14 you have a ritardando. So this is kind of where the piece is transitioning a little. So that ritardando just says RIT. That's important to drag out those notes and slow them down. Again, creating a really dramatic contrast. So if we start from 13, something like that. So again, you want to make sure that you develop the contrast so that it's really obvious to the ear that there's these changes happening in these really expressive parts. Oops. And then right before the fine, so that's important to note because there's a lot of repeats in this too, which we'll go over in just a moment. But so let's see, that's measure 14, 15, 16. Those notes there have a little side V, which means to emphasize it. And there's two ways to emphasize a note. One would be to really start out aggressively, and the other one is to start out soft and then get more aggressive. And so I guess that would be up to you how you want to express that, although I feel like those notes probably start off more aggressive just because of the nature of this piece and how there's all these different contrasts. So in let's just play, I'm going to play 13 all the way to the fine, because there's also some dynamics that you should take into consideration. So we have mezzo fortissimo, the MF, which is medium loud, and then we have the ritardando, and then it goes into pianissimo, so you can kind of think of it as tiptoeing, and then it gets really aggressive for that end, and then the song or this piece transitions into something a lot different. So really make it final. practiced this song in a long time, and it's like 7 in the morning, so I'm not warmed up. But hopefully what I'm describing will be enough. Okay, so that would be an important thing to tiptoe. And now we go into 17, which is going to be a very new feel. So there are lines above those notes in that first measure after the repeat sign, number 17, and that means long bow strokes. So you kind of go into this more romantic and then there's a little bit of a shadow or an echo of what this piece sounded like in the beginning. So in 17, 18, 19, 20, measure 20, I would circle that and I would practice those notes over and over and over because they are a lot faster. If you can't play them fast, then slow down the entire piece. But if you can work your way up and play them quickly, then, you know, start out at whatever tempo that you feel comfortable with. But I would just do that over and over, start really slow. One of the important things to note is that in that measure, let's see, D, E, F changes from an F sharp, so it's F sharp on the way up and then F natural on the way down. And just keep practicing that over and over and over and over again. It's a really important part because it's just a big part of the piece. And then in that same measure, you go back to those staccato notes. So again, that echo of what this piece started off like. And it gets quieter. So see that dynamic down below beneath those notes? There's the really elongated V, so it's showing that it's starting off loud and going really soft. Again, tiptoeing. And think of those notes as just like a little echo of what the piece started off with. And then, whoops, 21, we have pianissimo, so this is really soft, but we do have staccato up bows, so. And again, it's really important to have that contrast. Soft notes, staccato, long notes. And that's another part in, let's see, 22, 23, 24, measure 24, to practice, because it goes from, so you could just do it really slowly, rest, and then it would repeat. So those are the main things that I wanted to talk about. I guess let's look at 25, because again, I mean, really this piece is about contrasting bow strokes. So you have, again, those really long notes. In 25, it has the line above it, so staccato. And that's important to make that contrast as well. And again, because you have those 16th notes, the really fast slurred little grouping, I would definitely isolate those parts. It's hard, so. So just practice those things over and over, long. And then at the very end, you have pizzicato. So see, it says P-I-Z-Z above the notes in that very last measure. So you're going to start off, let's look at the note right before that last measure. It goes, and those are both up bows. And then it goes down to pizzicato. And again, those pizzicato notes are staccato as well. So you want to make them short, and you can kind of dampen them with your hand. So don't let them ring out like... the way to transition into pizzicato, and this is again something that you can practice, so you would be... and then you pick up your bow, and you grab it like this. So you make like a little L with your thumb and your pointer finger. And then you just readjust it. And you could practice that. Just take a moment to practice getting into that position. You want to go from your bow hold to the L for pizzicato. So. And see, that repeats. It says DC alla fine. So that means to go back to the very beginning and play it through until you get to the fine, which is on measure 16. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to play the whole piece in its entirety. I'll call out the repeats and rests, just point out specific things for you to take note of. Repeat. 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 To the beginning. End. So when you repeat at the DCA al fine, at the very bottom measure, the last measure, when you repeat that to the beginning, you don't play any of the repeats from that point on. Hopefully that makes sense. So anyways, I'm assuming you know what grace notes are, so I didn't even bother. I'm pretty sure you've already played grace notes. Grace notes are those little like brief notes you could see in measure 2. So you're just playing your first finger down, and it shows you the note, and it's just like a really quick little. And then you also have a grace note at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, measure 4, and that's an important grace note because it's an F sharp. And since this is in C major scale, usually F is natural. So instead of playing your second finger down, you're playing your third finger for that grace note, F sharp. And then also another important thing, oh, I just lost it. What was I going to say? Well, I guess an important thing in measure would be in measure 7. So you have that sharp there. So C, D, E, F sharp again. So instead of your regular 4th position, you're going to extend your 4th finger. And then there was still one other thing, and I completely forgot what it was. I can't remember. I'm sure I will remember. But anyways, the important things that I want you to take away from this is really establishing contrasting bow strokes. Make it really obvious. Have fun with it. The staccato is really playful, and then it gets really soft and dramatic. And also really pay attention to the dynamics. So when it says pianissimo, play it softly. And then get louder. And then of course just have fun with this. A gavotte is a dance, so maybe that'll help inspire you.